Hi, students, it's just me. If you're watching me in class and I'm in class, that's pretty awkward, but it is what it is. I need to teach you. So, what we're going to do is basically, I'm going to offer you some virtual guidance for your writing. Now, most of you have already brainstormed a few ideas. Now, your job today is going to be basically to select one of those ideas and run with it. In other words, I want you to develop it into something that you can write a lot about. Now, last time we had you all do 3 sentences for every paragraph. This time I'm going to try to challenge most of you to do 5 sentences a paragraph. But the first thing we should start with, nonetheless, is the very basics. Just filling out a narrative form like this. In any narrative, I want you to start off with the characters and setting. And you might be saying, well, how do I write 5 sentences about just the characters and the setting? Well, remember, in every narrative you write, you're going to want to have a hook, which is your attention getter. You introduce your characters, and you describe your setting. Now, when you're using descriptive language, use your 5 senses. You can see things, you can hear things, you can smell things, you can taste things, you can feel things. You could do a lot with that. And I'm going to model it for you right now as I'm on video. Now, I'm going to randomly pick a subject that I am familiar with, that I like. Remember that form that I gave you? You have to choose topic, purpose, expertise. My topic, as usual, I'm pretty predictable, chickens. I love chickens. Purpose is to entertain. My audience will be the students. And my expertise, well, I own a lot of chickens. So that's how we're going to start it off with. The first thing I need is a hook. My hook. It has to be an attention getter. My hook is going to be this. I'm writing, it says, Pecky Becky pecked my leg. See, I just thought of it right off the top of my head. And you might be like, well, who's Pecky Becky? Why is she pecking your leg? You see, that's a good attention getter because it gets the audience wondering, well, first of all, who are you talking about? Why did they do this? And of course, this little exclamation point kind of it's a good attention getter. So a good way to begin any, you know, hook, begin with something shocking. Begin with something that it'll intrigue the reader. It'll something that'll cause them to, pause and question. So right now, I want you to go ahead and do that right now. After you pick your subject or the topic that you're going to elaborate on, think of a hook. Think of an attention getter. Think of something that's kind of like this, where it's going to make people pause and be like, what? Who? What? Okay, so pause for a few seconds, hit the pause button, and write it down. I'll wait for you guys. Okay, I'll see you in a little bit. All right, guys, so hopefully you paused the video and came up with a really good hook. Okay, so now that you got your hook, decide who are your characters going to be. Now, I wouldn't go too crazy with the characters. Don't create, a crew of 10 of your best friends in the school. Because remember, you're going to have to give every character a purpose. And frankly, I can't even think of 10 people that are my friend, let alone write them in a story. I mean, I'm going to pick the basics. Like, I'm going to write what I know, and this is what I know. My characters and my story, and sometimes I'll include you guys that are watching. If you're lucky, I'll write a story with you in it. But for right now, I haven't gotten your permission yet, so I don't want to do that. These are my characters. Drew, Jackson, and I. Those are my characters. Drew is my husband, Jackson is my son, and of course me. All right, so I got that. Oh, one thing. Those are my main characters, but remember, we need conflict in the story. So decide who's going to be your villain. Or another word for villain is who's going to be your antagonist. So remember, whenever you're writing this, choose the good guys and your bad guy. In this case, my bad guys are going to be dun, 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 my chickens. Now that you got your characters, you need your setting. Decide where do you want the story to take place. I think my story is going to have maybe two locations. One of them is going to be inside my house, and the other one is going to be in my backyard. Okay? Inside my house and in my backyard. So when you're choosing your settings, just remember that characters don't always stay in the same location. Sometimes you travel in your story. Um, I will go ahead and, like I said, don't go crazy on me. Don't be putting like, oh, we travel all around the world. We went to China, Australia, Europe, Asia. Like, write about things that you know. I know my house, I know my backyard. You might know different locations. So go ahead and push pause on this video. And I want you to add, in addition to your hook, decide who are your characters going to be. And like I said, make it, I'd say 3 main characters, 1 or 2 villains, max. Because you don't want to overcomplicate it. And then decide on your setting, and then get back to me on that. Okay, so do that right now. Push pause. Okay, hopefully you push pause, guys, because watching this whole video in continuance, it's a little bit daunting. Now that you have that developed, I want you to go ahead and figure out what are your 3 major events that are going to happen in your story. Now remember, in every story you have a climax that your action follows. Like rising action, and then the climax right here, this is where it gets really fun, exciting, and interesting. Then you have a resolution and ending. Okay? So me, I'm gonna think of 3 events just right off the top of my head. I didn't plan any of this, but I'm gonna play pretend for a second and use my head. Okay, so imagine the characters are me, Jackson, Drew, and my chickens. I'm gonna pretend that my chickens go crazy on me, and I don't know why. Oh, you know what? Oh, I thought of a brilliant idea. My chickens end up with a zombie virus. I think that's perfect. Okay, so chicken zombies attack. That's gonna be my climax. That's the peak of my action, right? And then at the start of my action, I'm gonna start noticing that they're starting to act differently. So chickens act different. That's gonna be my first major event. They act different when I go to feed them. And then my resolution, or not resolution, but rather the third event that kind of leads to the conclusion. I'm gonna say, this is gonna get kind of ridiculous, but okay. So I put here. This is gonna be kind of funny, but it's just some of you might not realize this, but like in where I'm from, which is South Texas, people are kind of crazy about Vicks. They think Vicks pretty much cures everything. They will use it for athlete's foot, chest colds, ear infections, toothaches. Like they will put it up their nose when they have a sinus infection. It is ridiculous. But that's what I'm going to write what I know. So in this one, my first event is my chickens start acting differently. I go out to feed them and I notice that their eyes are wandering around and they have a red tinge to them and they're being less friendly than usual. The next thing I'm going to write is my chickens become zombies and they start attacking us. They start chasing after me, my son, my husband. We're running from them because they're flying at our heads, trying to peck all parts of our body. It goes crazy. My resolution, I think of the brilliant idea, well, you know what? I just need to rub them with some Vicks. So I get a little can of Vicks and I start, you know, grabbing my chickens and rubbing them on the chest with some Vicks, and all of a sudden they're cured. Now this is stupid. This is not very. This is a dumb story, but it's fun, and that's what I want you to do is have fun with your story. Don't worry about what other people are going to think. Write what you know. And like I said, I know Vicks. I know chickens. I know my family. When I combine them together, I come up with a pretty goofy story, and that's what I want you to do. come up with something kind of goofy. Okay, guys, I hope this helps you at least just a little bit. But remember, I'm probably testing students right now, so I can't directly help you, but at least this is sort of an indirect way of giving you some guidance as to what to write. Okay, guys, have fun with it. Bye.